Hey guys, Toby Morrison here from CFS Health. I'm shooting this video from lovely Arrawarra, which the beach is behind me, or actually in front of me behind you, and this place is just unbelievable. So I'm here working on some new content for you guys, some free stuff to help you along your way. Today's question and answer is a great one. This is from a lady called Ina who's in our program. Thank you for the question, Ina. So today's question is, Toby, how do you learn from setbacks and how do you avoid them? So Ina's question was directly, how do you learn from setbacks? But I want to teach you not only how to learn from them, but also how to avoid them, because I mean, in life, setbacks are inevitable. They happen, you know, and they're there actually to help us move forwards. And it might sound a bit cliche and a bit airy-fairy, but what I mean by that is that every setback is a set up to step forwards. And you know what it's like with recovery. It's every, one step forwards, two steps back. That's what it feels like all the time. It certainly happened with me when I was sick with CFS. However, as I started to get better, it turned around and went from one step forwards to two steps back, and then it turned to two steps forward, one step back. So 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. And I went further and further and further with my recovery, and obviously got healthy and strong and well enough to do whatever I wanted to do again. Okay? So with setbacks, there's a couple of things. Let's just talk about how to avoid them first, and then we'll talk about what we can do to make sure that it doesn't happen again and that we can learn from it and find the teachings from it too. So first of all, to avoid setbacks, it's really important to have some boundaries. Now, how you have boundaries is most important to actually finding your baseline. And you probably heard me talk about it before. But the difference between knowing your baseline and not is knowing your boundaries and knowing your limits. Now, this is not the same as pacing, where you pace all the time and you build up energy and then you spend it and then you do it again. This is about finding your actual boundaries in life, that you can actually say, hey, I can do this without feeling worse. I can do this without making my symptoms flare up. Now, obviously it varies for the individual, and it varies as you progress. So you might start really low and your tolerance to things is quite low, but as you get healthier, your tolerance becomes higher. So obviously the more stressed you are, the more stressed your body is under illness or dis-ease, the less you can really do in terms of being limitless and also having less boundaries and, I guess, pushing yourself, because at the end of the day you don't want to keep going in that push crash cycle that people so often get into when when they don't know their boundaries. That's as simple as it is. So find your baseline, okay? And this might mean writing down a list of things that you can do right now within your limits that doesn't make you feel worse or exacerbate your symptoms any more than they originally had before you did that activity or event. Or you write down things that you definitely can't do, and that can help too. So if big events really flare you up, or stressful situations or people or environments stress you out or make things worse, then obviously write that down as a can't right now. Same thing with exercise. That's really important to mention, that if you're going through a tough time right now and you're physically not able, then it's important to know your limits with your exercise, and not always on the good day push yourself so much. And we all tend to do that. We all feel like we feel great, we wake up and then we try and do everything in a day and then we collapse in a heap. That there is the biggest warning sign. That's the problem. So it's important to not use all your energy credits up in one day, but it's also important to kind of have those precautions and have that set foundation so you know your limits. We all have limits within our life. I was just talking to a friend the other day about, having boundaries, whether you're healthy or not. It's actually more important to have boundaries when you're healthy, just as it is when you're unwell, okay? So set some specific guidelines and boundaries that work for you. Now, this might mean, having a set structure and routine that you stick to every single day, which we have in the online program. We teach our programmees that. It might mean getting coaching and getting specific observation, so because sometimes you don't know what you should do, so it's important to get someone who understands what's going on to give a little bit of perspective on what you need to do next, okay? Really important. The next thing that's really important is actually learning from your setbacks. So before I get into that, I want to quickly talk about progressing. With recovery, the goal is to progress. In any area of life, we all want to progress. So with recovery, you want to progress, but then you don't want to keep progressing all the time. There's a certain thing called adaptation, which is progression, then adaptation, progression, adaptation. Now this isn't a setback, this is actually where your body and your mind grow. So when you're doing something, a new activity, or something that's stimulating your brain and mind, which is really any activity, even sleep is, burns calories. When we're doing things, just like I'm doing this video right now, it is using stimulus, it is stressing my body out in a good way, and my body's going to make sure that I adapt well to it so I can do it again. The same rules apply for recovery, even with exercise. We talk about exercise progression or movement progression, restorative movement. We have to rebuild energy first and then progress. Rebuild energy, progress. So sometimes if you're constantly pushing and crashing, you need to flatline it a little bit and manage for a little while so you can start to move forwards and progress further without having these yo-yo up and down setbacks. Now, learning from setbacks. So this gets back to the initial question. So when you're in a setback, first of all, you're so panicked and worked up towards the setback that you're not mindful of what's actually going on. Setbacks are usually caused by a number of things, but it goes back to the same principles I spoke about before, which is stress, stimulus placed upon the body or mind, okay, where it's overloaded, where the body and the mind can't handle it anymore. So this could be a build-up of stress, it could be an instantaneous event that really flared you up and made you go backwards. It could be the food you ate, because remember, anything that we're putting into our bodies or mind is a stress stimulus, and hopefully we're putting in good stuff, which is giving our bodies the energy and vitality that it needs to move forwards. Okay, this is what I teach in my program. But when we're putting bad stuff in our mouths, then that's when it places stress upon the body, and then the body tries to break the stress down and do its best to break it down and absorb it and progress from it. Sometimes it's too much stress placed upon the body where it can't adapt in time, and therefore the setbacks happens. Okay, so it could be a physical event where you're doing way too much exercise, you're pushing your body too much, and it could be really basic stuff like even moving around the house. If you're at such a low level of health, if you're pushing too much around the house and you're doing too many chores or gardening even, that can set you up for a setback if you're not doing it steadily, consistently and progressively. All right. A lot of the people that I see in my program and who come and work with me are type A personalities. They're high achievers. I don't really work with lazy people at all, even though they've got chronic fatigue syndrome. These are not typically lazy people. These are people who probably try and do too much. Sitting still is a big chore for them. It's hard. So of course when you get chronic fatigue syndrome, you're forced to sit still, but when you do have that glimpse of energy, you're going to push yourself even more. So the first step is being mindful of what am I actually doing that's causing these setbacks. Is it my mindset? Am I stressing myself out too much? Am I hanging out with the wrong people? Am I working too much? Am I doing too much study? Am I relaxing enough? Am I being calm? Am I eating the wrong foods? Am I exercising and pushing my body too much? So there's a big factor of reasons. Now again, it can be really acute, where it's quick and sharp, or it can be chronic, where it's long-term, built up kind of stress stimulus that then eventually breaks down the body. And that's why we get sick. So sometimes being ill is not a bad thing when we get a sickness like a cold or flu, because it's really a signal for the body to, hey, slow down, relax, you need to take a break. Okay, unfortunately with chronic fatigue syndrome, it's like it's chronic, so it's a long period of time. So we need to give back to our bodies and minds and our entire being, so we can build the strength and stamina and energy and health and vitality to move forwards from that. Now with the setbacks, of course, they're going to happen. So what I would do every time you have a setback is write down why you think you got the setback. What didn't I do today that I should have done? What did I do yesterday that I maybe might have overdid it just a little bit? Some things can be appropriate, some things aren't appropriate. So it's really important, if you are struggling and you're going through lots of setbacks and you're going, but I'm not doing anything wrong to get these, then maybe see a GP or a doctor who might be able to help you find an underlying cause. However, with CFS, it is very common to have setbacks. I think I had like 200 setbacks, especially at the start, when I was really struggling. I didn't know anything about how to get better, and all I did was just guess. I just kept guessing. And not only that, I was just doing the wrong things because I was taking uneducated knowledge from people who didn't understand. So one of the things that I teach you guys is trying to understand your own body, trying to understand where you're at, and then going, okay, what can I do today that's going to help me in the future? On a holistic level, not just with, and this is a big one, sleep. See, you can easily have a setback by just having a really bad night's sleep. Now, a setback and a relapse are two different things. A setback is normal and it's okay. Okay, these are like setbacks that last from anywhere from 1 day or half a day to, you know, one to 2 weeks. Okay, sometimes 3. A relapse is something more chronic, where you're coming from a really high, and then you hit rock bottom again, and you have to. It's almost like you have to start back over again. It feels like it's months on end until you get that energy back up. So just remember, just with the terminology that you're using, sometimes we use the word relapse, and it's a really heavy, you know, dark kind of word. So just be mindful that a setback is absolutely normal. You know, even healthy people get setbacks. It's called injuries, sickness, relationship breakdowns, stress. All these things are setbacks. But what I look for is, you know, things feel like they take you off track, but they're actually there to put you back on track. And I know it's easier said than done because I'm sitting here and I'm telling you this, but you know, this is what happens in my life too sometimes, when we get thrown off course and we think, oh my God, it's all gone to waste. But then no, actually, it's actually putting us back on track to do it better, to learn more, to go, okay, maybe I need to do this next time. So just remember, a setback is not a failure. It's not failing at all. It's actually progressing. If you can keep learning from every failure you've had, you will learn not to do it again. It's a mistake. So take another shot and go again. I hope that helps. Just remember, get a foundation first. Find your compass. All right? Without a compass, without a foundation, it's very hard to know what you should and shouldn't do, and it's hard to kind of progress forwards when you don't know what's going on. So part of that is we teach that in Module 1 in our online recovery program, which is finding your baseline and then progressing from there. Again, if you want more help, go to cfshealth.com, this one here, www.cfshealth.com, and put in your email, follow my daily emails. If you have any questions, you can email my assistant, she'll be able to respond to you. And you know, there's so much help out there. If you're struggling, reach out and get it. Simple as that. And remember, a setback is not a bad thing if you're going through one right now. I hope you're smiling and knowing that it's okay in your heart, that it's normal. But start doing the right things to help yourself, and don't get into that negative vicious cycle that CFS is one, where it's very hard to turn the tables. Get into the right sleep structure, get into the right daily activities and daily planner, and start to move forwards on a holistic level, nutritionally, restoratively, with your movement and reconditioning your body. But do it on your terms. Don't follow people who don't understand, and more importantly, focus on yourself. You are your best teacher, okay? My job is to teach you that. Hope that helps. Again, check out the other videos on YouTube. I'll be shooting these much more regularly, and please feel free to comment below on what you've learned from your setbacks so you can help someone else. Cheers.